Hello everybody and welcome to this Gradcracker webinar with Sellafield. After the huge success of the Sellafield webinar last year, we have decided to host another. To introduce ourselves, my name is Carla, a director at Gradcracker, and I've been working with Sellafield for 16 years, and they advertise all of their early careers opportunities with us. So those are degree apprenticeships, placements, internships and graduate opportunities as well. Soph?
Thanks, Carla. Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie, and I'm really excited for my first webinar of this season. So I look after a lot of the employers that advertise on Gradcracker, just like Carla, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about Sellafield today.
Perfect, thank you. So it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
So we will don't cause me trouble. So we will start with Vicky and then move on to placement student Martin, graduates Rebecca and James, and finally Tom, who has now rolled off the graduate programme and has been at Sellafield for 5 years. Today, Vicky will be stepping in to talk about the recruitment process and will give you hints and tips about your application and also how you can be successful. Vicky will also speak in more detail about the amazing graduate programme Sellafield has and how they will help you progress your career. And it really is an amazing graduate programme. Every year I'm just blown away by how you guys help and support the graduates. So Vicky, tell the audience a little bit about you and your role at Sellafield.
Hi Carla, so I'm Vicky Monkhouse. I am the Senior Graduate and Summer Student and Industrial Placement Lead at Sellafield. It's a long title.
It's a long title.
I have to give a bit of thought to that, So I am part of Sellafield's graduate development team. We're a small team that put in a lot of effort to ensure that our graduates and students have the best experience they possibly can with us. So I help with the design, development and delivery of the programme, as well as any pastoral care that you need throughout.
Yeah, and there's a massive support network there, isn't there, for grads, not only who have started the graduate programme, but from offer stage as well to starting at Sellafield. So some amazing opportunities. So thank you for that, Vicky. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about Sellafield as an organisation?
Yeah, so Sellafield Limited is a nuclear organisation, but one of the common misconceptions is we are not creating electricity. We are an organisation of decommissioning and looking at future nuclear technologies. So we are based at West Cumbria, so the north of the country on the west side, but we also have a satellite office at Hinton House, which is Risley based, Manchester way, Warrington way. Yeah, so we are and have been a very diverse organisation since the 60s. We started in Ministry of Defence and building weapons, to then first nuclear power plant for England opened by the Queen, to then where we are now, where we're dealing with legacy waste and reprocessing. So a real diverse organisation that employs well over 11,000 people, from support staff in people function to business analytics, through to robotic specialists and engineers and people that drive drones in ponds, to ROV operators, you name it. We've got a very diverse organisation.
Yeah, and an absolutely massive site as well at Sellafields. I'm not going to ask you how big it is because that might be one person's top facts a little bit later on. Don't want to spoil it for anybody. But you mentioned a couple of misconceptions there that you come across, Vicky, as part of your job and speaking to as many students as you do. Are there any other misconceptions that you come across regarding Sellafield or the nuclear industry that you kind of like to myth bust as part of this webinar?
Oh, that's fun. So yeah, one of those common misconceptions is that we process and create electricity. That's not the case and hasn't been for a long time. And some of the other ones are that we're this big white clinical organisation, and they have this image of white walls and labs, and that's not the case at all. We're a legacy organisation with plants that date back from the 60s to where we are now, where we're at the height of technology. So a really diverse organisation, and I think people think that it's something they've seen in the films, and it's very Homer Simpson-esque, but it's not. It's an organisation of professional culture. We are very much on the precipice of every sort of nuclear advancement that is going. We are seen as the nuclear advancement of the country.
Yeah, Absolutely. And none of you are yellow, so that gives it away that you're definitely not from The Simpsons.
No.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Vicky. And what we're going to do now is we'll be back with Vicky in a couple of moments, but we don't want to leave everybody else waiting, so we're going to do a quick introduction to everybody else. So, Martin, I'm going to start with you, my love.
Yep.
So could you mention that you're a placement student? So you're currently, or will be, going back to university. So could you tell everybody about which university you go to and also what do you study?
Yeah, of course. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Martin. I'm currently studying at Manchester Metropolitan. I'm a mature student and I'm studying Triple E, so electrical and electronic engineering.
Perfect. Lovely. Thank you very much, Martin. And Rebecca?
Hi, so I'm Rebecca, a mechatronics and robotics student. I study mechatronics and robotics at the University of Hull.
Lovely. Yes, shout out to Hull. Thank you very much for that, Rebecca. I got really excited when Rebecca said she went to Hull. I was like, oh, there's nobody else in Hull apart from me and Rebecca. James, over to you, my love. Tell me a little bit more about where you went to university and what you studied.
Yeah, so afternoon, everyone. I'm James. I went to Staffordshire University and I studied mechanical engineering.
Lovely. Thank you, James. And Tom?
Yeah, I'm Tom. I studied civil engineering as a integrated master's degree at Liverpool John Moores University.
Fantastic, lovely. Thank you very much, Tom. And again, we're going to go around the room again and get one top fact about Sellafield to get us into the webinar. And Martin, I'm coming back to you.
Yeah, of course. We're just touching on what Vicky started with before. Sellafield was home to the world's first commercial nuclear power station that provided electricity domestically to the public, which was opened by Queen Elizabeth II. It operated for about 50 years and it symbolised a transition from military to civilian use of nuclear technology.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Martin. I can't believe when Vicky said about the Queen, I was like, Vicky, that's Martin's top.
Great minds, great minds.
I know. Thank you very much, Martin. James, what's your fact?
So one of the buildings under construction currently on site, when completed, will be heavier than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai.
And how heavy is that?
Next question.
I'm going to bully James a little bit because he has been tormenting me before the webinar. He keeps disappearing, so now I'm in it. I've got him numbered. Thank you very much, James. Tom?
I actually had the same as Martin, but I can add to it. But you can look on YouTube and there's a short 1 to 2 minute video of showing the Queen doing the ceremony of opening Calder Hall.
That'll be nice. We'll add that to the hub. Thank you very much for that, Tom. And Rebecca.
So following on from Martin's fact, the Calder Hall, the reactor, has the same size footprint as Buckingham Palace and its grounds. It produced enough electricity in its lifetime to power a 3-bar radiator for 2.85 million years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Martin, you are the thought leader in this.
There you go, it's just trendsetter. Just a trendsetter.
Well done. Thank you very much, everybody. So before I hand over to Soph and we speak to the panel in more detail, Vicky, I just want to come back to you and talk about the opportunities that you're going to have open. So from the audience's point of view, the Sellafield opportunities will be opening on the 22nd of September. So that is in a couple of weeks' time. So don't forget, after this webinar, make sure you go and follow Sellafield, and then you will receive emails and push notifications when they do open those opportunities. So Vicky, talk to me about the opportunities that you will have opening.
Yeah, so on the 22nd of September, we will go live with our graduate, summer student and industrial placement programme. So our graduate programme, which is a 2-year CPD programme, will go live, and that's all your STEM background applications. So that is electrical and engineering. We've got project management, commissioning. We will have design engineers, finance, so a whole plethora of different opportunities, and that's the same for our summer students and industrial placements. And the intent of our summer student and industrial placements is for you guys to have an opportunity to see us as a business and see if you like who we are as an organisation, but vice versa for us to see if you're a good fit. And there is that career pathway direct into our graduate scheme if you are successful on our summer student or industrial placement scheme, to have that direct entrant into a graduate scheme.
Yeah, absolute no-brainer. And like Vicky just mentioned, there is an opportunity open for all STEM disciplines, so your sciences, technology, engineering, and maths as well. So make sure you give Sellafield a quick follow, like I've just mentioned, to be alerted to when the opportunities open. We would also, me and Soph would also like to thank everybody for submitting their questions before this webinar. We've had some really, really good questions. Unfortunately, we could only fit about 4 or 5 in, but they've been absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. And Mohammed, I think we've answered your question. So Mohammed from the University College Cork asked if there was opportunities open for electrical and electronic engineers. So Martin is a Triple E student, so absolutely proof's in the pudding. He sat here on this webinar. And Vicky specifically just mentioned electrical and electronic engineering as well. So definitely something for you. So you can make sure you give Sellafield a quick follow and get your applications in. So Vicky, final question. I promise I will leave you alone soon. You mentioned about, your day-to-day job is looking after the graduates, making sure that they are successful, having a really good graduate program. So tell me a little bit about the graduate program and what's involved. How do you develop the graduates? Tell me more.
Yeah, with pleasure. I will blow our own trumpet on this one.
Now it's all back to you in what you do.
Yeah, this is where I do get excited.
Yeah.
So we've got a 2-year fully fledged CPD program for our graduates, and one that I would say is best in class when we've done some benchmarking. So we invest a lot of time, money, energy, and effort into these graduates so that they can be as successful as possible. The scheme sponsors chartership routes for every single graduate that goes through that door, dependent on your discipline and your wants and needs in that profession. We do a week called Level Up Week, where we go into outward bounds and we explore softer skill and those behaviours that we look for in our graduates. We ask that our graduates go out into our local schools, and we make them STEM ambassadors, and they give back and they have all those nice opportunities to get out and about outside of the business. We work with NSAN, so the Nuclear College, to deliver a qualification called ANYA, the Award for Nuclear Industry Awareness, so that we invest in those qualifications as well. The list goes on and on and on. We look for our graduates to do either 6-monthly or 12-monthly rotations, so they get a full exposure right across the business, and get to see what excites them, what really sparks their imagination and where they want to go in their career path, really. So we invest a lot in them. We have my team, which is there full time to support them on that journey, but we also have full support networks as well. So we have mentors, we have buddies, we have our graduate council, which are members of our graduate community who are there to help with, I'm just relocating to West Cumbria, where do I live, to I quite fancy climbing a Wainwright, to I'm looking for some opportunities across the business in certain areas. So a real enhanced holistic program that we deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Vicky, I've spoken to you on numerous occasions now, and your eyes light up when you talk about the graduate programme. You can definitely see how passionate you are about it. So thank you very much for that introduction. So what we're going to do is come back to Vicky towards the end of the webinar and talk about the application process and hints and tips and things like that. But Sophie, you've been sat there very patiently. You've been behaving very well, darling.
Thank you,
so I'm going to hand over to you to talk to the rest of the panel.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thanks, Vicky, for that brilliant introduction and overview. So yeah, we're going to come over to the rest of the panel now to find out more about your day-to-day roles, what life's been like on the graduate programme for James, Tom and Rebecca, and obviously for you, Martin, on your placement. So we are going to start with you, Martin.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Can you tell us, Fab, can you tell us a little bit more about your current role at Sellafield and what you do, the team you're in, and just give us a bit of an overview about what you've been up to so far?
Yeah, of course. So I am a CE&I placement student. So effectively, within the CE&I team, I support my managers and colleagues with certain different tasks. So mainly under the umbrella of retrievals. Going back to what Vicky says, obviously Sellafield's in the business of decommissioning now. So effectively, I'm put on a role and a path that's been outlined by my line manager to meet meet certain criteria within that, so I'm ticking the correct boxes so I can make the most out of my placement, and then get as much exposure as possible with my related discipline.
And how long have you been at Sellafield now then?
I started mid-July.
Okay, so
yeah.
a couple of months in and still a
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
Fab. Well, we are going to come back and find out a little bit more about some of the key things that you've done, but thank you
Yeah, of
for
course.
the introduction. Rebecca, coming back to you now, can you tell us a little bit about your current role and what you do at Sellafield?
So I'm on the ELM, so engineering and maintenance pathway for electrical. So I'm training to be a reliability engineer. As part of that, you do 4 different 6-month placements during your time here. So I'm currently in 6th step for the site at Iron Exchange plant, which is a facility that's sort of summarises the kidneys of Sellafield, processing the effluent and the water. Sort of so that it's safe to then be released out to sea, as well as being responsible for pond cooling, stuff like that. So I'll talk about projects probably in a minute, but you sort of, it's like engineering, seeing what's on and the lifetime like assets.
Amazing. And you're in your 2nd year of the graduate program, is that right?
Yeah, so getting to the end of the scheme now. I've got literally like a month left.
Oh, exciting.
But it's been wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, great. And just to recap, actually, Rebecca, you're based at the West Cumbria site, aren't you?
Yeah, so over the time I've been like slightly different locations. So they have offices now in Whitehaven, and then also the more like on-site and front-facing sort of roles as well. So it's been really varied and really interesting.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. And just Martin, you're at Risley, aren't you? Just so I can remember where everybody is.
I'm at Risley office, yeah.
Great, so we've got a real variation of where people are based. So now coming over to you, James, tell us all about your current role at Sellafield and what you get up to.
So similar to Rebecca, I'm within the E&M pathway, and at the minute I'm in the design placement. So I work within what's called the manufactured products office organisation. Sorry, I keep making that mistake. So we're responsible for all the waste packages on site. So when we're entering the silos and the ponds and whatever else, we're the people that source and procure and design all the packages that they go in. And so that's sort of been my role for the past 6 months.
Fantastic. And you are also in your 2nd year of the graduate program?
Yeah, so I think 2 and a bit weeks I finish.
Oh, that's
amazing. Okay, so we're going to be able to hear a little bit about the whole graduate program from you two as well as we go through the webinar, which is brilliant. And Tom, finishing with you, tell us all about your current role at Sellafield and what you do.
Yeah, so as Carla mentioned, I'm now 3 years postgraduate scheme. So I've progressed from my graduate design role and now working as a lead civil design engineer, working on remediation projects. And that remediation projects focused on sort of the safe decommissioning and demolition of all the older redundant structures and buildings on the Sellafield site.
Amazing.
So yeah, I work on various projects as the civil structural designer, where I generally work with a multidisciplinary team to work on the safe decommissioning of some of the very complex structures.
Amazing. I mean, just from the introduction, you can just see how unique these opportunities are working at Sellafield and, being on a site like that where it's, the only one of them, the opportunities that you guys have already been exposed to. So coming back to Martin, you're only a couple of months in, but is there any sort of key work or projects that really kind of jump out to you that you've been involved in so far, or even that that you're going to go on to at Sellafield that have made you really excited?
Yeah, of course. So I've been really fortunate. I've been chucked in at the deep end, being a mature student, which I'm really enjoying. So one aspect I'm currently involved with is procuring something known as method statements. So it involves you almost like a bit like an investigator. So you're going through checking, like for my basis being electrical, I'm checking electrical drawings and technical things like that. And then going away, making sure they're correct, do they meet regulations and things like that. And then from that, then you procure this statement once it's been checked, and then obviously it goes then out to tender, or it goes then to be was something to be made at the end of it, which is quite good, quite interesting, especially being like so newly into the scheme. But other things like sitting down, which is a good thing really, because the scope for what you can do here on placement, for what's been put to me already, like it's a real good opportunity to try and like as much as you can, see what you do like, see what you don't like. So having that constant touching in base with my line manager saying, okay, well, I quite like the sound of this. It's already like putting a plan in place for things I can try for the 12 months whilst I'm here.
Amazing. Yeah, and so many skills as well that you'll be picking up that will really help you when you go back to university for that final year, giving you so much context for
Yeah,
your degree.
absolutely, and it's the experience that's the main thing. Experience is invaluable. You know, I'd recommend to anyone who can get experience, absolutely go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Martin. And Rebecca, coming back to you, can you talk about maybe one or two of your key project highlights over the last couple of years that have really stuck out?
I think maybe a big one was, to be fair, so alongside the placements, we also get the opportunity to do like engineering skills where you spend 3 weeks at college, but then you go and do 6 weeks working on the called sprint project. So we got a problem where it was a case of decades this cell in darkness, a bit of an unknown situation with the physical but also radiological condition. So we were given the task of, we worked as a team and sort of different people had different roles, but to develop a solution and sort of propose an idea as to how to actually sort of get a landscape sort of a map of what actually is there. And we ended up where we talked to different people and sort of people that were even involved with the early commissioning. And it was really fascinating, and sort of them working through the options and talking to different universities and stuff like that, as to what we could actually end up doing. And then we did end up where we finalised the idea and that, and then you present it to an audience of like people that have different roles within the business. And I think that's probably the key highlight. Sort of, you wouldn't usually get to do that outside of the grad scheme. Sort of the takeaway as well is you've done your dissertation and stuff like that, and it's like another aspect as to applying that to industry.
Amazing. Yeah. And there's so many different things that you've said there about the exposure that you've got, you know, different people across the business that have different experiences. You're working within a team, so it's building all of those soft skills. And then you're doing the presentation at the end of it, which again is building up those presentation skills. And, you know, from what Vicky was saying, these are all the sort of things that Sellafield want to help you with throughout that graduate program, is not just building your technical skills, but also the emphasis on soft skills and on all the things that goes around that. And I think that just one example that you've given there, Rebecca, just kind of shows all of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a really it is like a really amazing experience to be fair.
Oh, I can tell by your face, you're just smiling every time you talk about what you've been up to. You just got that big smile on your face, which is lovely. Thank you very much, Rebecca. So James, hopping over to you, what sort of work and projects have you been up to so far?
So there's a couple of key ones, I suppose, that were really quite good. One of them was the sort of substantiation of the assumptions made in one of the major projects on site, and that sort of formed the underpinning for the CEO's arguments in Parliament to the government. Can't really tell you much more about that. Sorry.
Oh, secrecy.
And then, like Rebecca says, the sprint project as well. That was really good. Again, I can't really say a lot about it, but we were involved in one of the waste plants, and our job was to very vaguely improve the reliability of the system. And so we just had 6 weeks effectively playing around and trying to come up with new ideas and new ways of doing things, and then presenting that back to plant and other stakeholders and getting buy-in from them to hopefully implement your ideas. And some of the things we did during that 6 weeks are first across the site. So yeah, I think the opportunity's there to really sort of get involved with things, and if you're doing the right thing, to actually progress with it as well.
So you're in your final rotation now,
Yeah.
which you said you finished in 2.5 weeks. Give us a quick overview about have you been on 4 rotations, 2 rotations?
Yeah,
Tell us a
so
bit about that.
yeah, so 4 rotations, 6 months each. So started in utilities, so I was looking at water treatment and some of the different water treatment plants we have on site. And then I went into security and resilience, so looking at some of the security assets and things like that. So they were both reliability, and the main focus there was asset life and looking at ways to improve plant performance. I then moved into what's called the central team, which is the same sort of role, but instead of being focused on a specific plant or a specific area, you just sort of get parachuted into where needs support. So I looked at a range of different facilities across the site and doing the same kind of things, doing condition assessments, looking at equipment reliability and how to extend or maintain life of assets. And then now I'm in the design, looking at package design for waste containers.
Amazing. And I mean, going through all these different rotations, you're going basically into a different business each time you do that. So you're going in a little bit blind, aren't you? Coming straight out of university. Obviously, you've got your technical knowledge from your degree, but how does that work? How do you get settled into each of these rotations and kind of start off on knowing what you're going to be doing?
I think when you first start, it's a bit sort of, well, up in the air. And I mean, the first sort of 6 months, I'll be honest, probably not the most productive, but it's a massive, massive company with a load of regulations and rules, and you've got to figure out how you do things. Not how to do things, how to do things in the correct way, because obviously there's potentially consequences that really can't happen. So yeah, I think it's more sort of understanding the processes and how ways work, and then once you get your head around that, you can then actually start to deliver. So as you come throughout, you sort of become more productive, and yeah, you become a better employee, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good point is, the first few months when you start in any career, it's getting to know the business, getting to understand how everything works. And obviously Vicky and the team have put a really, really strong start in place and strong support in place. But then as you kind of know everything, it makes any rotation that you do a little bit easier because you've already got that kind of footing to start. So that's brilliant. Thank you, James. So coming over to you now, Tom, obviously you've been with Sellafield the longest out of all the rest of our panel. So I'm hoping you're going to be able to give us a really good overview of what you've been up to.
Yeah, well, firstly, I was trying to look back at what projects I did back in the grad scheme. And I was, so during the grad scheme, I was working within the ISA, which is the Infrastructure Strategic Alliance, on its main project. And it was to essentially upgrade the electrical distribution around the site. So you're designing and constructing essentially the site's own electrical grid with backup power. So as civil and design engineer, I helped design the foundations for this new substations, new steel cable supports, new bridges to allow for these fairly hefty cables to network all the way through around site, going to all these important nuclear buildings, which is obviously very crucial because these nuclear buildings need to keep running.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember on site, during my grad scheme, I had a 6-month placement up on site, which was very useful. I was able to be on site and see some of my designs that I'd been working on being built and help them deliver that work as well. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And what have you been doing since you've rolled off that graduate program? So the last 3 years, and you're no longer in that kind of defined scheme. What sort of role have you been doing since then?
Yeah, so once I came off the scheme, I got a permanent role within that infrastructure team where I developed into a lead role. And then once my project finished, I moved across into my new role in remediation. So this current role I'm working on involves decommissioning the Calder Hall site, which is what we mentioned earlier, the old redundant power station, which is situated on Sellafield. And this site it's being removed essentially bit by bit to allow for further future projects to be built upon. So one of the projects I'm on is involves safely lifting down these huge heat exchangers off the sides of the old reactor buildings and then laying them down suitably on a large enough foundation so that it can support the each heat exchanger once it's down. And yeah, this is obviously quite a challenge because these heat exchangers are around 400 ton, 225 meter tall. So you will end up having to use fairly hefty crane to lift them down carefully, all within a very constrained site and working on buildings that have been built back in the 50s and were never designed for demolition. So yeah, so challenging projects, but yeah, that's where I'm up to at the moment.
Very, very exciting though, and like you say, you know, it's a really challenging, but also a really unique thing to be able to work on, an amazing experience to get. I want to just go back a little bit from when you kind of finished the graduate scheme and then went into your full-time role. What did that process look like? So you finished the graduate scheme. Did you know where you wanted to work, or was it a matter of applying to something internally at Sellafield? How did that process work?
So my grad scheme was slightly different in the because most of my placements were within the same area. So but I believe when you get to the 18th month mark, you sort of have that start having those discussions with your manager. Sort of a where do you want to go to, and where's the sort of where there are gaps for people to join and projects. And then once the grad scheme ends, then you'd be given I'm sure Vicky might be able to help, but you'd be given that role in wherever you've asked for, wherever you've suited.
So it's very much a two-way conversation starting well before the graduate scheme finishes. Have you got anything to add to that point, Vicky?
Yeah, Tom's right in what he's saying, in that at the 18-month point, that's when the discussions start happening. So that's when you know that you've been successful in role, you've been successful in your graduate scheme, and what the potential opportunities are. And that is two ways in what do you want from your future in the organisation, and also where are the gaps within. So where is the business need, and where are those opportunities are. And we are a heavily based STEM organisation, and there's lots of exciting opportunities out there. I've been here nearly 20 years, which makes me a little bit scared. But I started as an apprentice myself. Them opportunities that are out within the business are huge, and there is lots of different roles to undertake. A lot of people say there's no reason to move outside of Sellafield, because there is that much diversity in the roles that you can undertake.
Amazing. Thank you, Vicky. And that leads really nicely on to what I wanted to talk about next with everybody, which was what the future looks like at Sellafield for everyone. So Martin, obviously you're on your placement year, but you've still got quite a lot to go. What do you hope to achieve over the rest of the placement?
Get as much experience and exposure to different areas as possible, really. From what I'm seeing, as part of the placement, as Vicky said, it's also all going well. You can get offered the grad scheme afterwards once completing. So the main objective is to be successful and be offered the grad scheme once I've finished my degree. That'd be fantastic. Fingers crossed. But yeah, basically just try and learn as much about the industry as possible, because it is very unique compared to what I know about other industries. And everything's very bespoke because of the nature of what they do here at Sellafield. So it's all very one-off stuff, which is quite exciting, really. You're working on something that's never potentially going to be used in another facet, so to speak. But yeah, upon having a successful placement year, definitely hopefully be invited back for the grad scheme.
Amazing. Fingers crossed for you, Martin. And Rebecca, coming to you, what does the future look like for you? I mean, I assume now if the conversations happen about 18 months for that the permanent next role, you might already know what you're doing next.
Yeah, so I've been offered a permanent role in the company. So I've got my final appraisal on Monday, actually, where it's sort of like a presentation to sort of go through all of what you've achieved in your 6-month placements. So wrapping up tasks, and then I'll be starting and it's going back to actually where I was when I first joined the company, first placement, in high level waste plants. Which is very exciting with all the different projects there. But basically, as part of smoke and fuel management, they immobilise high-level waste generated from the reprocessing of stuff. So it's very important to the process. And then like working towards chartership will be one of the focuses post scheme. But that's one thing the grad scheme is really good at, like building all those competencies, so you're in a good position and then continuing to develop with personal and professional skills, and become a well-rounded engineer. Because it is exciting. There's so many different areas. I think, like we said, that you can just be still within Sellafield, but it be a completely different job. Because of the different processes and everything that's going on.
Amazing. Well, it sounds very, very exciting, and it's amazing that you'll be supported toward chartership as well. I know that's a really important thing that a lot of our student audience look for when they're looking for their graduate opportunities as well. So thank you very much for highlighting that again, Rebecca. James, coming to you, what does your future look like at Sellafield?
Similar to Rebecca, so I'll be going back to utilities, which was my first placement, and I will be doing steam and air distribution. Forgot that. I'll be the reliability engineer in charge of the distribution networks around site.
Are you sure, James? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Last time I checked, yeah.
You're just going to rock up, aren't you?
Given how this is going.
And James, forgive me, but what does that actually mean? What will you actually be doing?
I
kind of wish I hadn't asked that now.
So it'll just be looking at the assets and making sure that the long-term goal and the plans for site, we have the capability to deliver them, whatever they may be.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, James.
Move on.
I know. And Tom, obviously you've already had an amazing career at Sellafield so far, but what do you want to achieve in the next sort of 5-10 years if you could see into the future?
So I'll be continuing to sort of grow into my lead role in currently, and progressing that, taking on more complex projects and hopefully mentoring any new graduates joining the team. But as Rebecca said as well, I'm looking to progress my professional chartership. I'm nearing on completion of that. So Sellafield's been a real help in allowing me to get all the evidence required to get to this stage, and then I'll be soon going to applying for review or interview to become a chartered engineer.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure you will do amazingly at that, Tom. And we're going to move away a little bit now from the day job, because I feel like we've heard a really, really great overview and so many different experiences that you've all had at Sellafield so far. But I know one thing that our audience always likes to hear about is, kind of life outside the day job, if you like. So Martin, tell us a little bit more about what else is on offer at Sellafield, and anything else that you've been involved in.
Still being relatively new into it, but I'll tell you some things that we've got planned and coming up. So we're massively involved with STEM, getting involved in STEM activities. So I have a couple of STEM events coming up. So I'm going to be going out to schools to work with children and really promote STEM. There is a massive social side as well. I'll be honest, I'll hold my hand up. I've been really, really busy to join the rest of my cohort, unfortunately. But there's a massive social side. We've got some great members in our cohort who organise events. So there's always that on offer as well. That's going on in the background. And obviously very, very big for pushing, going to like different conferences and things like that, just really pushing, any all CPD and things like that, really, to progress and going forward, really. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Martin. And Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit more about what else you do outside of work at Sellafield?
So I think one of the things to start off with is, as part of the grad scheme, is the grad council. So during time I was plant tours coordinator, so sort of increased my knowledge of the vastness of site and all that side of things, and sort of also going externally as well. Help with organising that. So we went to places like UKEA and Chapel Cross, arranged by grads, which was great for both my knowledge and also my confidence and all this sort of soft skill side of things as well. But then part of the IET and on the committee for that. So outside of work, there's like lectures and talks, and then also like with Martin saying, the STEM events. So one of the big ones for us is the Engineering Open House Day. So the last 2 years I've been part of organising that, which is it just sort of reminds you why you're doing sort of like that sort of step back in time almost as to how you've ended up here as an engineer, encouraging people, and just seeing the joy that sort of like engineering and STEM can bring. So like arranging stuff like that. There's women in nuclear and women in engineering as well, part of them, which great networks for that thing of like there's of like building sort of I'm going to repeat myself, networks, but sort of support and all that side of things. But then outside of work, sort of within the grad community, we formed like a little walking group. So at weekends, often I'm out on the fells, and then likewise, because that's one of the things with being here. The location has got Lake Street right on our doorstep, which is like amazing. People retire here or go on holiday here. This is literally where we live. It's
very, very lucky to live in such a beautiful live and work in such a beautiful area. And it sounds like everyone at Sellafield tries to take advantage of that as well, like with the walking groups and things like that you've mentioned. But everything you've said, Rebecca, just shows how much of a network there is at Sellafield for graduates and all the different types of things that you can get involved with at work, and also just to further your learning in kind of external stuff as well. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. James, have you got anything that you get up to specifically, or you'd like to add to anything that Martin and Rebecca have said?
I don't know. Rebecca covered pretty much everything there. I think generally, I suppose no matter what your interests are, there's probably somebody that's got similar interests to you, and you can find each other and get involved with things. I know like there's the walking stuff, people go play football, there's people that go play paddle, squash, they do games nights, things like that. So all kind of things, wherever you're into, there's somebody there. And I think if I was going to give somebody that was successful in applying and getting on the scheme one piece of advice, when you first meet everybody in that first week, is just speak to as many people as you can. Even if that's not you and you don't like doing that, you're going to find somebody with some common interests. Otherwise, you're probably not going to have a good time if you isolate yourself and you're just in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do all the time. So that'd probably be the only thing I'd add.
Yeah. And making friends on these grad schemes can be so helpful in so many different ways, just, from having that company, but also to having people that you can go to for advice and ideas and all that sort of stuff. So thank you, James. So James and Rebecca are both based in West Cumbria, but Tom and Martin are both based in Risley. So Tom, have you got anything to add about, how things work in Risley, any other sort of things that you get up to?
A lot been covered there, but in Risley, if people don't know where that is, it's situated halfway between Manchester and Liverpool. So whenever we did like socials when back in the grad scheme, it was always very convenient going into either Manchester or Liverpool, doing things like bowling. I remember doing socials like go-karting and going to flight club and stuff like that. It's all very accessible as well. Some people, I used to live in Manchester and then commute to Risley. It was quite convenient.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Tom. So that is the end of my time talking to you guys. I'm going to pass back over to Carla and Vicky now. But thank you so much for giving us such a great overview of your experiences. But let's find out how to get that job.
Yes,
Carla.
perfect. Thank you very much, Sophie. So I was going to speak to you, James, a little bit more about the graduate community there at Sellafield. But you're off the hook, so I think we've answered that question really well. So Joanne, University of Manchester, thank you for asking us that question. It was a really good one, but I think we've covered everything, unless you want to add anything else, James?
Not really, no. I do think covered quite a lot there. So.
Oh, I'm going to get you later on. So what we're going to do now, Vicky, is move on to the application process. So when a student goes onto the hub on Gradcracker, they click the apply button. What are the next stages?
So next stage is you'll pop your application in, and then after that we do online assessment. So if you're successful through the application form, you'll be sent an online assessment, and then it progresses onto video interview if you are successful in that stage, and that's normally late November, December, and then if you are applying for a graduate role, the only slight difference is we do an in-person assessment centre as well, face-to-face. And that also gives you an opportunity to come up to West Cumbria if you're going for a West Cumbria role, to see if that location suits you as well.
Lovely, perfect. Thank you, Vicky. And we've spoken to the recruitment team, a lady called Molly in recruitment as well, and she does suggest that you only apply to one opportunity. So make sure you do your research, make sure the opportunity that you apply for is the actual one that you want to get, and don't have a scattergun approach and apply to lots of opportunities. Just make sure you apply to that perfect one for you. We also want to cover, Vicky, it's a bit of a hot topic at the moment, is the use of AI when students are going through the application process. So what is the Sellafield stance on the use of AI?
I mean, we wouldn't be able to do our day job, a lot of us now, without AI, aren't we? So we're not a strict no use of AI, but what we say is we want to see your personality, your strengths, your ways of working. There is no harm in passing it by that once you've got that application through, and using it to refine your CV or drafting your application. But we really want your thoughts and the way that you work to shine through, and that's what we're looking for in your application. Some real standout things that you can do that you'll bring to the business.
Yeah, so make sure you show your true authentic self when you put the application in.
Yeah,
thank you very much for that, Vicky. I'm going to stick with you. So a couple of questions now from the students who've submitted them. So Ryan from the University of Birmingham, he would like to know how you would suggest he prepares for the strength-based interview.
I think consider who you are as a person. So where are your strengths? There will be lots of people, without sounding a bit crash with it, there's lots of people that will be doing your university course, but what separates you from everybody else? You can only be your true self in those strength-based interviews, and think about the examples of how you've gone over and above. Think about all the things that you do outside of your university courses, so whether that's being part of a group at your university, whether you're a team player by being a coach to a local football team, whatever it means, what separates you from everybody else.
Yeah, lovely. And I hope Stefan at Strathclyde as well, that answers your question about how you make your application stand out. So make sure you come across as yourself, you identify all your skills that you've done, if you've been involved in any societies, groups, anything like that. This is what involves, that's just what you need to include within your application. So moving forward a step, Vicky, when these students have been successful, how, once they've started, any hints and tips? I think it was you, James, who said, network, speak to as many people as you can, don't hide away. Anything else that you would add to that, Vicky?
Building on James's thought process, be part of the graduate community. So we take a large community of early careers. It makes up 10% of our business in early careers. So there is lots of people out there in the same shoes as you. Really utilise that network, get involved, be part of our graduate council, take on the plant tours role. I'm sure Rebecca will point you in that direction, but we have lots of people there to help you get involved. I always remember those that come through the door on day one who were smiling and ready to go and getting involved, and that's when you get noticed during that period of time as well. The graduate scheme is fantastic for giving you opportunities right across the business, opportunities that normally you wouldn't get. Take those opportunities and take them with a smile on your face and run with it. It's fantastic. Rebecca, who's on the call now, and I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, is our graduate of the year this year as well. So she took on the role of our graduate council as our plant tours lead. She's always been that smiley, happy face and was recognised by her cohort, and that's what it's about, being part of a community.
Yeah.
Mm.
Rebecca, I was going to say you do seem quite busy with everything that you're involved in, and everything that you do. So thank you for spending, an hour talking to us today. You've had an amazing insight. Vicky, back to you, and just talk about, so once there's an induction process, step back from that. So when students have been successful, there's generally a gap between the offer stage and the starting stage. Is there anything that you would recommend the students do in that gap to set themselves forward a little bit before the start at Sellafield?
Move up as soon as you possibly can. So if you're coming to West Cumbria or you're moving to Warrington, try and make that move as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Get to know the area, get to know your cohort. So when you're walking through the door on day one, you're not as nervous and you know a couple of faces. Me and my team try to keep warm with you guys. So reach out into your linking you with your potential line managers, having some time with who we call your pathway leads, to start building those relationships. But read up on what Sellafield does. Read up on our history. We have podcasts now. We've now got a Sellafield podcast that you can access via Spotify and what have you. So learn about us through that as well, and enjoy the experience. Like it's been said, we live on the doorstep of the Lake District, which is absolutely fantastic. So whether you're into paddle boarding, going outside and doing open water swimming, or getting into the local town, there's lots of opportunities there for you to get involved in.
Perfect, lovely, beautiful part of the country. Thank you very much for that, Vicky. So thank you very much for everybody joining us today. Again, it's been another amazing webinar with Sellafield. So what I will do is just recap a couple of points. So remember that the Sellafield opportunities will be open on the 22nd of September. So a couple of weeks' time. It gives you this time to go onto the Sellafield hub on Gradcracker, do lots of research, rewatch this webinar, watch the bite-sized chunks that we'll put together as well, just so you know more about the company before the applications open on the 22nd. Also, make sure that you give them a quick follow and to be alerted by email and push notification when the opportunities do open. And remember, there's opportunities across the board. So Sellafield has lots of opportunities open to all STEM disciplines, covering degree apprenticeships, placements, internships, and graduate opportunities as well. So there really is something for everyone. This recording will be live on the Sellafield hub on Gradcracker tomorrow, and the bite-sized chunks will also be readily available for you to access tomorrow as well. So don't forget to go and rewatch us. So if you're making it up as we're going along, but hopefully you'll have had some really good insight into the company, the business, and the fantastic insights into these students and their careers so far at Sellafield. So thank you, everybody. Join me and Jessica. Jessica's back on Monday with Mercedes Formula One, and they're joining us again for another fantastic webinar. So that's Monday, the 15th of September at 2 p.m, and we hope to see you then. But for today, thank you, everybody. Good luck when you do put your applications in, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.